So if you could be here around 9, that would be great. Okay?
Well, listen here.
Hello, and welcome to 90 Day Fiancé Classic Edition. I'm Mr. O, and today, Miss H and I will be discussing Season 1, Episodes 3 and 4 of Before the 90 Days. In this episode, Karine is a lot more energetic than we remember. Darcey is too busy dropping hints to ride a bike properly. Abby can't even seem to look Sean in the eye. Courtney gets ready to see and hear her erotically photographed man for the first time. And Patrick is turning over a new leaf and giving up his player lifestyle. If you like what you hear, please support us by subscribing and leaving a 5-star rating. While we cover these classic episodes, we'll also be covering the current season every Monday. Next week, we'll be covering episodes 4 and 5 of Before the 90 Days, which you can watch on Hulu or Discovery+. All right, thanks for listening, stay safe, and enjoy.
Hello, Mr. O.
Hello, Miss H.
How are you on this classic day?
Spring break! Woo!
Woo! I know, it's so exciting. I'm so excited to actually have a spring break this year. I feel like I'm going all out because it's the first year I have not been associated with the university, because usually that dampens my spring breakness.
Because they don't line up. Well, I don't know.
Right, they never line up.
Like I said, I'm still not really spring breaking. I plan on catching up with all my work and doing all that in the middle of it, but...
Oh, I plan on doing nothing. Nothing. That is the plan. I deserve it. Treat yourself.
Yeah, it's gonna be a really big end to the school year here. But all right, let's talk about other people who are doing nothing. So let's go with Courtney. So we meet Courtney, who's 26 and lives in Orlando, and she's making food with her mom. She says that the dating pool in Orlando is shallow. Well, at least the men she's been dating are. So she tried to find herself by quitting her job and traveling. And when she's abroad, she uses the dating apps. She met Antonio while she was going through Spain, but they didn't really start talking or texting until she got back to the US. Since then, they've communicated only through text messaging. They haven't video chatted or even talked on the phone. She claims that this is because he's always busy and the time zones never match up. She recognizes that it's weird, but she thinks she might be in love with this guy. She talks to her parents, Fred and Jane, who voice their concerns. Mainly that Antonio may be some sort of predator. Fred says that, things just aren't adding up to him and something seems fishy, specifically catfishy. Courtney asks if they think this whole trip is a mistake, and they say, yeah, we do. So next up, Courtney is going out with Sophie and Anna, and we get to hear their take on the situation. Well, their take is that it's kind of crazy, but, they want what's best for her, and she's an adult and can make her own decisions. They also say that Courtney's track record with guys is that she tends to trust them way too much. We also learn at this point that Courtney has been catfished before by someone in India using a model's photos. So then Anna goes all FBI to track this guy down. She finds some interesting information. Antonio has done a bit of erotic modeling. And then we're shown some of the softcore pictures of the guy. So in the next scene, Courtney is packing up for her trip because, she's about to leave the next day. She does, packs everything with that traveler's roll, including her Spanish emoji dress. But, in addition, she's also bringing some famous American candies for Antonio. Her parents come in to check on her, and she tells them about the provocative photos, which is just met with Fred saying, "Oh, on the way to the airport." They talk about, Courtney's, staying situation. She's intending on staying on a hostel instead of with Antonio because she doesn't want to wait, she doesn't want to give him any wrong ideas and wait 3 months for a one-night stand. All right, so, Courtney, this is the first time we've seen her. I mean, it was the first time I've seen her. So, to be fair, I've seen her one other time, and that was when we had the quarantine thing where she with the German guy selling the giant period cups.
Yes, that guy was so creepy. And that cup was creepy too. That doesn't fit anywhere.
Oh my God, I still can't get over how big those cups were.
Yes, it's like, who is fitting in that? I don't know.
Oh, I think there's all kinds of, you must fold it like, you have to do origami on the cup to get it in there, and then it's a whole thing. And then it's got to come back out.
It just looks like it would be uncomfortable.
Yes, because it would be in there.
Okay, yes, you can get that in, right? But I feel like you're not walking around without knowing something is all up in there.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So, I mean, oh, geez. I don't even know where to start with her. Like, let's just start with, you know what? Let's start with these erotic photos. She seemed to be, like, surprised, but not really
Sad
appropriately.
about it.
Yeah. I don't know if she acted appropriately. Yes. But I mean, if he sent them to her, but it was kind of like, it was definitely, I thought it was a bit like, well, if you had these, why haven't I seen these photos yet? Like, you should have sent these to me.
Right.
These are nice looking.
Well, some of them looked old, so there's that, you know?
That's true. I mean, so she's never seen this guy live.
No, not at this point. Well, in no context, because they haven't even video chatted, which to me is like, it's a lot less low stakes if you are catfishing and you're just like in the neighborhood, right? But to risk having to fly very far away in another country and risk being stranded in a really dangerous situation, like, what are you doing?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, and I feel like this, because I feel like part of the way they're doing it is not, they're building it up. Because Courtney's not an inexperienced traveler. We saw the pictures all the time, right? She goes all over the place. She's literally been to Madrid before. That's how she ended up matching with this guy, right? And so I definitely think it's kind of a situation where she's like, I don't know, I'll go and I'll meet Antonio. And if he's a catfish and I don't end up meeting him, trip to Madrid. No big deal. Like, I'll enjoy myself anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. It just seems like a lot of wasted money, because if that were me, I would, kind of feel some regret, like, oh, well, I could have gone somewhere that I've never been before, and spent that money there instead of going back to somewhere I've already been just to waste my time. Yeah, I can survive on my own and it'll be fine, but, that's not something I would choose given the circumstances.
I definitely have my suspicion. She definitely seems way too trusting and seems to not be suspicious enough about many of the things, like, why can't you video chat, right? And
that's a big one.
That is a big one, and especially the idea when her dad at some point was like, "Oh, so you're going to meet him in a public place," and she was like, "Oh, I think that is a good idea, huh?"
Okay, but then what the hell is the point if it's a public place? Because then you're just going to go back to his place.
Right. Well, I mean, the public place thing is definitely something you do locally. Well, that's why she didn't want to stay at his place. That's why she wanted to have this hostel that she also hadn't arranged yet.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Didn't she say, like, oh, well, I'll probably just stay at Antonio's place until I figure it out?
Specifically said she wasn't going to stay at Antonio's place.
Oh, okay. But then I thought she said she was.
No, I think she was just like, because I was also a little confused too. It was like, I feel like going far ahead of time and making reservations to a hostel kind of isn't the purpose of a hostel. It's because kind of be like, you're just wandering and we're here. Like, where's the hostel here? We'll go find it and have a place to sleep. But yeah, it's just definitely not enough suspicion, because the meeting in public thing is what you do locally, right? That's what you say when you go. That's why you don't you'd be creeped out by anybody who's like, not anybody. But, most of the time I wouldn't say, if I was, reaching out to a girl for a date, to be like, why don't you just go over to my place? Be like, I don't think you're going to say yes to that.
Oh, you would be surprised at how many guys pull that. That's like one of my biggest pet peeves when it comes to dating people online, is the first time that you meet. Like, to me, I find it incredibly inconsiderate when a guy never asks me where I live and picks a place that's down the street from his house. I hate that. It's like one of my biggest pet peeves. Or just straight up invites me over to his house. I'm like, no. It's like, I at least understand that, oh, well, I can pick you up. And even though I would never allow that to happen just for safety reasons, at least you're being considerate. It's like in those situations where you're saying, oh, meet me here next to my place, it's like you're being lazy and inconsiderate.
Right. Well, I mean, and also you're also making, if especially if he says, because it's right near my place, that's like, I think you're also making a lot of assumptions here, guy. Like, I don't think this night is going to go the way you want it to go.
I've had there's a brewery down the street from my house. And I'm just like, no, I don't like where this is going, because he didn't live very close to me. So it was just like, all right, so I can go to this brewery and then not drink. because I'm going to have to drive myself home. It's like, oh, we could sober up at my place.
Yeah, his
Nope.
goal was not for you to drive home. That was the obvious
I
goal
know,
there.
right? That's why I was like, nope. I never met that guy. I have no idea.
Right.
Who knows? That could have been my soulmate.
She's definitely not the kind of women I've been on dates with that have to stop the date in the middle and be like, okay, I have to call my girlfriend now to let her know that everything's okay. I'm like,
Oh, gosh.
I get a lot of that. Like, I'll stay. I just told her I would call at 8. So I was like, okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So my parents would flip out if I was being honest about some kind of, come on, it just sounds like a sex trip.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially when she was like, oh, yeah, I never Googled the guy. And my girlfriend, within 15 seconds of it, found softcore porn. So
I know,
you
right?
know, that's all good. And let me tell that to my dad. Like, oh, gee, I thought she was like not going to bring that up.
Yeah. She says that there could be chemistry and passion. And it's like, how could you say that there's chemistry and passion and excitement when you haven't even talked to him?
Yeah. Like you can't tell me you can't tell me if there's chemistry, even like non-romantic chemistry, like, you know, friendly banter, if you've never bantered because you've never spoken, like with words and auditorily. Yeah.
Yeah, just like even picking up on their tone of things. It just, it's weird. It's very old school, you know, like where people would write letters.
Oh, yes.
Asking for their hand.
Yes. My dearest, as the winter comes. Yes. I'm thinking of old Civil War. Yeah, those Civil War.
Yeah.
One day this war betwixt the states will end and we shall be together.
You're like, I don't remember you. Too bad they didn't really have pictures back then.
Yeah. New quill, who dis?
All right, let's move on to Sean and Abby, who weren't on for very long. So Sean and Abby are getting to their Airbnb. They're not staying at Abby's family's place because she says they don't live in the nice part of town. Abby is giddy during her interview, saying she's finally found someone. Sean is going to give Abby the benefit of the doubt about Chris, since it's the first day at least. Instead, Sean decides to show Abby the clothes he's brought her. She throws all the panties, 190s, whatever of them, up in the air and says it's raining panties. Sean reveals that he has spent about $12,000 on this relationship, and he continues to show her the gifts he brought, which include a laptop and an iPad. He says that she inspires him, which makes everything worth it. Abby says she is so happy that he came to see her. He tells her he loves her, and she says she loves him back as she looks away from him. He continues to try and sweet talk her as she avoids eye contact with him and really doesn't seem to reciprocate the sentiment, at least not explicitly. Okay, so I definitely noticed that Abby has this thing where she completely avoids eye contact with him, especially when
Chris comes up. Mm-hmm.
Well,
when he's being like affectionate.
Right. When he's being affectionate, she's always looking away. When he's, going in to kiss her, most of the time she's looking away. She's never actually looking at him. So why do you think Abby avoids eye contact with Sean?
I mean, the reading into it, I just don't think she's as into him as she's pretending to be. But that said, and it's only because she maintains eye contact sometimes, because, there's some people like you and me who don't make eye contact with anybody when we talk to anybody, right?
Yeah, we're those people. I know. I was going to say, I feel like there is some amount of shyness, but it's kind of interesting to me that it just seems to conveniently happen only when he's trying to be affectionate with her. And if I were him, I'd be like, this girl does not seem into me, but he doesn't seem to have a clue.
No, I mean, that's kind of what the vibe I was getting from Sean anyway, is him projecting his own feelings onto Abby, right?
Right.
Onto, I feel so great, I want this. And, let's don't sugarcoat it, objectifying her a bit too, right? Like, he doesn't really care. It's not as interesting to him, her interior life, as much as he's like, I like girl, she pretty, takes
she
my
tolerates
stuff.
Me.
Yes,
and she's
accepts
here.
Me. Yes, and he's
and she
here.
lets me do stuff with her.
She hasn't. Well, she hasn't yet, but we assume she will.
Right.
That's just when the camera crew leaves, right? There's it doesn't seem like there's going to be any hesitation there.
No. I think she knows her end in this transaction.
Yeah, Yeah, and it's one of those ones where it seems transactional in a way that neither one of them want to acknowledge that it is. Right? I think she might know, and I think that's why she's uncomfortable with him actually showing affection, to being like,
Right.
this is not part of the transaction here. Because I'm sure she also had a similar transactional relationship with Chris.
Yeah. Very possible.
All right. So they weren't in it very long. So one thing I thought was, let me transition to the next one. One thing I thought was weird about that was to contrast it between him and, well, you're going to get to it, them and Paul, right?
Yeah.
Where you'll get to it when Paul had to like ask the dad and like, you know, made that whole awkward thing. And she just like, yeah, Mom, going to this Airbnb with this strange white guy. Later. Peace. Like,
I know, right?
Like,
oh, goodness.
she's just like there. It was like, huh. All right. So let's go to the other new couple we had this time. And that is Patrick and Miriam. So Patrick is a 25-year-old traveling DJ from Lexington, Kentucky that also does mixed martial arts. So he tells us that back in the day, he was quite the player. You know, he got lots of women being a DJ. But that changed when he became a devoted father to his daughter, Italy. He says that when he was with his ex Cameo, he wasn't really ready to commit. But, you know, now he's a little bit older and more mature, so he is. That's when he met Miriam, who lives in Paris, and he met her over social media through, you know, the various connections he has as a DJ. He says some gross stuff about how he prefers foreign women because with them, the respect he gets is different than with American women.
God. Okay.
And he's ready to go to Paris to meet with her. And, you know, then we see him discussing it with his possibly high DJ friends. So while he's there, they kind of like, he FaceTimes. They think the whole thing's kind of weird, but they agree that she matches his energy, and they kind of laugh at each other. Anyway, so then Cameo is bringing over Italy. And Patrick wants to talk about this whole situation. He and Cameo seem to have a good co-parenting friendship, and he says that, you know, any woman in his life needs to be cool with that. So then, you know, he tells her what the situation is and asks for her 2 cents. Her concern is how is he going to approach, you know, the relationship. How is he going to bring into the new relationship, you know, the existing relationship with her and also Italy with this woman? She says it's a big red flag that Miriam doesn't seem all that interested in his life as a parent. And Patrick says that, you know, her family might not even know he exists at all because they might reject him for being both American and a non-Muslim. Cameo just takes all of this as evidence that Miriam is not taking this situation seriously. She says that she'll support him with whatever he chooses, but, you know, that doesn't mean that she thinks it's a good idea. So, I mean, with these ones, I mean, how much of long of a time frame is he? He's 25, and he's like, you know, way back then, I wasn't ready to settle down. I was very immature.
Well, considering his daughter's like 2.
So, I don't know. It seems like he's claiming a very large change for a short amount of time.
Yeah, I think so too. I also think it's kind of hypocritical of him to say that he wants to, you know, date a foreigner because he wants to find someone with morals and commitment. And it's just like, you're the self-proclaimed player. That seems incredibly hypocritical of you to say that you need to find this somewhere else.
Yeah, well, I mean, and that's what was weird. He said the morals and the thing, and then he definitely said something about like the respect that women have for you. And it's like, damn, it sounded like he wanted like a gross, like subservient woman who does what her man says is like kind of the vibe I was getting off of that. Because, you know, we're talking about Italy's only 2 years old. And then he was like, I wasn't ready to commit to Cameo. And she's like still there and still hanging around.
Yeah. I wonder a little bit if he is somewhat Muslim, like maybe not, obviously not super strict if he has a kid. But, you know, but maybe some extent has the beliefs or he grew up that way. Maybe that's somewhat of an appeal. And then, you know, dating someone else who may also be Muslim. Maybe that's what he means by morals and commitment. Someone who's sharing, maybe he means it more of like sharing the same values as him.
Yeah. I mean, well, I guess we'll see what it is he's really looking for. But whatever it was, he couldn't seem to find it in Cameo. And so far, I really liked her.
Yeah, she seemed really sweet. Yeah. I think, though, we've had a couple of couples on one of these Sharp shows where it's just like, okay, the baby mama is around and she seems pretty cool. Why did you not make it work with them?
Right. And I mean, some of the times you can say it's because, it was baby mama's call, right? She was like, nope, I can't deal with you. I can deal with you as a co-parent and as a thing, but I can't deal with your relationship nonsense anymore. And so I'm just going to cut that part out of my life. That makes more sense. So in my head, I'm saying that it was Cameo's choice, but he made it sound like it was more his choice.
Well, yeah, because he's a player. He doesn't want to advertise that kind of rejection. He's got to keep his player status,
definitely.
right?
Definitely. Yeah. Because, when you're the DJ, you just get all kinds of women.
Oh, gosh. I'm with the DJ, right?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Okay, let's talk about Paul and Karine. So Paul is nervously waiting at the dock after 2 days of traveling. They had arranged to meet at the docks before he left home. But he's worried that Karine is having second thoughts, and he's checking his pulse as he's also paranoid and swatting away imaginary flies, maybe? I have no idea. Meanwhile, we meet Karine, who is getting all dolled up for Paul. We learn that she is 21 and living with her family. She stops in to talk to her mom, who is worried that the relationship is moving too fast. Paul is just Karine's type, though, light-skinned and blue eyes. Graceline, Karine's mom, has concerns, like, how are they going to talk to each other? Karine has no idea, and she's more worried about how Paul will react to her. She walks to the dock with her sister and then rushes ahead when she sees Paul. They hug as he, awkwardly pats her on the back, and she's crying. Karine has very strong emotions, and Paul is trying to communicate with her, but they're already realizing that they can't communicate at all. Paul takes out the translator app, and he tells her that she is beautiful. She tells him that her parents want to meet him. Paul wants to meet her family, but he's worried about the language barrier. They pack all his things in a truck, and Karine and Paul get in the back and head to her parents' house. She's nervous that he will judge where she lives. Paul is surprised by the laundry hanging outside and all the chickens on their drive to her parents' house. Karine is worried about what her dad will think of Paul because, as she puts it, her dad is very grumpy. Paul is also nervous as they head in to meet her parents. We're told that Karine's father is retired law enforcement. Paul meets her parents and hugs her mom and shakes hands with her dad very formally, and her dad attempts to talk to him. Her dad is immediately frustrated and asks what he's supposed to talk to him about, and everyone just awkwardly smiles as Karine's dad just starts talking shit on Paul, calling him a mute. Paul then busts out the translator app and asks to see Karine's room, and Paul says it looks youthful. He is very bothered by the lack of AC in the house. He's booked a nearby hotel and asks if she can stay with him. Karine says she will need to ask her parents for permission. Paul uses the translator app to ask Karine's parents if she could stay with him in a hotel. Her dad immediately looks pissed and asks why he should trust Paul. But luckily, he says that in Portuguese, so Paul is still smiling like an idiot because he has no idea what's going on. Her dad tells him in Portuguese that hotels are for sexual encounters, and Karine translates that for him through the app. Paul promises to keep her honor and safety. Her dad finally says that, well, she's an adult. She can do what she wants. He can't tell her no. Paul smiles like an idiot when, Karine says it's okay. Paul takes all of his luggage and makes his way to the hotel with Karine. Paul is nervous to spend the night with Karine, and he wants to prepare some things before Karine is allowed in the room. So 15 minutes later, Paul emerges and says she can finally come inside. He has laid out all the gifts he brought her, which include lots of stuffed animals, chocolate, and cereal boxes. He also set up a mosquito net over the bed. Paul makes a buzzing sound like a mosquito as he continues to try mime his way for communication. And Karine goes, no, they're not here. He convinces her to get under the net with him. Karine asks for a kiss using the translator app, and Paul explains that he was waiting for a romantic moment, but of course he says it in English, so who knows if Karine even understood. Paul says he's scared of being hurt and teases a big secret about a past relationship. Paul says he wants to wait to be intimate, and Karine is a bit disappointed because she thinks he doesn't like her anymore because, he doesn't want to do it. Paul admits that he has some trust issues, which is why he wants Karine to take an STD and a pregnancy test before they're actually intimate. Paul says the proposal will come after he can completely trust her and possibly rate her sex skills. So, do you think that Karine thought this was sexy fun time at the hotel?
Probably. Yeah. And like, yes, yeah, I do think she thought it was maybe not, only sexy fun time at the hotel, but there would certainly be sexy fun time involved. Otherwise, why would we spend money to go to a hotel? That's weird. Like, I understand not wanting to do it at my parents' house, but like, all right, I'm going to do it.
But Paul just told her parents that he didn't want to do it at her house.
Yeah, but I don't know. I definitely was like, thought that it was something, oh yeah, that's what you tell my parents and we'll stay the night. But like, yeah, we're still going to like you told my parents, I'm not just bringing her over for sex, but that might be a thing. I mean, I think she definitely kind of had psyched herself up for that's what he's going to want when he gets here. Like, that's the first thing. And you could totally tell that she sadly felt like weirdly rejected when it wasn't going to happen. But I don't know that she was disappointed because it didn't seem like she was disappointed because she really wanted to do it so much as she was like, oh, so I guess you don't like me then. Like,
yeah, like I'm supposed to reject you, not the other way around. Mm-hmm.
Right. However, let's get to his reasoning for this because this fits into Paul's. So the STD test, okay. Yeah. I can get behind, right? Because STD test is definitely I don't see it as a judge of someone's character to be like, hey, let's just make this as clear. I don't think people who have STIs are of lower character or like, hey, you got to watch out on these dirty people. It just happens, right?
Yeah.
And so like, but the pregnancy part, that's the part that's getting me. Because the only thing I can think of with the pregnancy thing is the thing he's protecting against by making her take a pregnancy test before they've had sex is this crazy bitch is already pregnant and is going to try to have me have sex with her so that I have to pay for this baby, which is...
You're not wrong. Knowing what happens, you're not wrong. That's exactly the reason.
So why is he there then? If that's what you think, if that's what you think about this woman, why did you go to Brazil? I don't understand. Like, and it's definitely this huge, you'll see it in pockets of the internet of those guys that just kind of think this thing about women. They're all out to get men. They're all crazy bitches. They're just trying to trap you into paying for babies. Like, and it's like, ew, it's such a attitude that I just can't get behind. But like, and this time, so last time you had mentioned like, seeing Karine pre-Paul. When we saw pictures of her pre-Paul, it was a lot more jarring to see her like in action pre-Paul because she was like bouncy.
Yes. She seemed like full of energy.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And then post-Paul, it's just like, she's so lethargic all the time. Right. And just even how she talks and like looks at him is just like, she looks at him like annoyed and she talks like, ugh. So I get it's a language barrier thing too, but it's just like everything she does is so sloth-like.
Yeah, I just like saw like I was like she would walk into a room and like shimmy her shoulders and she'd come in with a big smile and she just doesn't do that anymore. It's everything is just so
it's
slow.
So weird to see her pre-Paul.
Yeah, I know. It's unfortunate because it just makes everything like sad. And I cannot. He couldn't remember familia. Like, of all the things, they're going to see your family? Like, familia.
Pretty similar. Okay, so Paul has very clearly, and, we've talked about this even in the shows that we've covered, the newer ones. He's very clearly had some kind of education in Spanish. And for some reason, it doesn't seem that he understands that Spanish and Portuguese are not the fucking same. And it's so annoying to me. Because when he walked in, he immediately refers to her mom as madre. So he goes, oh, madre. And she was just like, no, mame or something, whatever it is in Portuguese. But it's definitely not madre. And it's just like, oh my God, Paul, get it together. They're not the same.
I still prefer him. If you're going to be like, oh shit, I don't know the Portuguese word for this, you're better off saying the Spanish word for it than you are saying the English word for it.
Oh my god.
The number of times he just goes, bed, like, go to bed.
And he's
like,
the dumbass that puts an O at the end and like hopes for the best that it's the same.
Beto?
Oh my gosh, he's so annoying to me. I love how they're just like, oh, I guess I should have learned more Portuguese. It's like, you think?
You think? I mean, and the part of it is the part that's super crazy now is we know 3 years later, he still doesn't know any goddamn Portuguese.
No. So annoying. It's like, Duolingo, asshole. Come on.
Anything. Like, it's so bad. Like, I don't, it's crazy. Like, and he'd even cut the tags off his blanket that he was using. Like, it's just, I don't know.
Paul is I don't even want to say hot mess. He's just a mess.
Yeah. I mean, he got his mosquito net ready, though. That's the important thing.
Oh, my God. Well, the bzz, you mean? The bzz? Bzz. His miming, too, is so ridiculous.
Right. And this is when they had the text, they typed it into the app to get it. So we don't even hear them, like...
Oh, speaking to each other? Yeah.
Right. So let's hit the last couple. Yeah, last couple we had is
last one.
Darcey and Jesse. So we start with Darcey and Jesse driving through Amsterdam to get to Jesse's place. He's pointing at all the canals, and she's trying to make out with him. And eventually they get there, where Darcey tells him he has a little wifey for the next 6 weeks. One of her many, many, many hints about marriage over the next 2 episodes,
God.
and I assume the rest of the season. And it's been a long time since she's been in a relationship. When they get to the apartment door, Jesse has a surprise for her, so he blindfolds her, even though that might mess up her lashes. The surprise is that he's laid out like balloons with LEDs in them, a swag bag on the bed, and some champagne on ice, and silk sheets so her hair won't get frizzy. At this point, they have to strategize what to do with all of her bags, because, Jesse basically lives in an IKEA showroom-style apartment.
Yeah.
It's like, one of the ones in the middle of the store. You walk through and it's like, yep. I only have 400 square feet. Anyway, Jesse talks about how he's disciplined and Darcey seems impulsive. And then they take their shoes off and then settle in to have some champagne. So now it's time for another surprise from Jesse. And that is a classic Amsterdam bike ride. Darcey is concerned because she doesn't understand the traffic flow at all. And she's also not very good at riding a bike. Jesse keeps getting increasingly frustrated that Darcey can't keep up with him. And Darcey was not prepared for a workout session. Turning proves to be a problem, and she ends up in the street more than once. Jesse doesn't know whether Darcey's chaotic behavior is just her or if it's like an American thing. Then Darcey shows us the big rock she got to symbolize. The big rock she got to symbolize their love, which really makes it sound like she bought herself an engagement ring, especially since she's wearing it on her left hand, which she recognizes but says, I don't care. Darcey makes, again, about 3,000 benches of weddings around here. And Jesse says he doesn't want to rush things because, Americans just get married too quick. So as Darcey keeps dropping wedding and honeymoon hints, when they're walking around Amsterdam at night, they have to cut the tour short because her shoes are making her uncomfortable, which kind of frustrates Jesse, who told her to wear some friggin' sneakers for once. So they go into a restaurant where Darcey continues to lay it on very thick with the compliments, and at dinner she brings up the Facebook relationship status. Jesse doesn't think it's a big deal because all of his friends actually already know about their relationship, so why does he have to put it on Facebook? But Darcey, on the other hand, wants to have a big, long, drawn-out discussion about whether or not she should do it, since she's never changed her relationship status before. Back at Jesse's apartment, we keep focusing on these weird candle things he has and this naked torso statue that's on the top of his bookshelf. And they are getting ready for bed. They both get into bed in long bathrobes, and Darcey is worried about being intimate with him because she's self-conscious about her body. They watch Fire on the TV, and Jesse awkwardly asks if she's going to take off her makeup before bed. He tells us that he's not really into makeup all that much, and tells her that he prefers the natural look. Even telling her that she looks better with it off, and saying maybe you should, just get rid of all your makeup. So then things start to happen behind closed doors when Jesse locks out the crew. When we see them the next morning, Darcey is sure that Jesse is the love of her life because they were intimate and their souls merged together.
God.
So Anyway, today is the day they're going to introduce Darcey to Jesse's mom and stepdad. Darcey is nervous because the parents aren't really all that much older than her. And we find out that his parents are very artsy people, as is demonstrated by the crazy decor outside their house at first. But we also is demonstrated by seeing them. They go into the house, and it looks like with Jesse and his parents, the apple fell very, very far from the tree.
Yep.
They are extremely hippie-ish people, or as Jesse says, robust and enthusiastic. Jesse's mom tells us her opinions about Americans in general, that we're all phonies. But she gets that from Jesse that Darcey is different. When Darcey talks about her plans, she says that she wants to get married and already has boy names picked out when they have kids, and stepdad doesn't respond all that well. He says, you've only been together for like 4 days and you're talking about marriage. Are you nuts? They try to change the subject to how handsome Jesse is and how much women like him. And then, stepdad wonders what's in this relationship for Jesse, since he's obviously so far out of Darcey's league.
God.
Jesse gets put on the spot to respond to that and says, nobody's perfect. Darcey is pretty upset about how this goes down. And Jesse is saying some half-assed stuff about how it's really more about appreciating differences than levels and leagues and stuff. Anyway, when they leave, Jesse asks how she's feeling, and Darcey says she's happy that she got to meet his mom. She is offended about what the stepdad said, but Jesse says that she shouldn't be so upset because he didn't say he's out of your league in a negative way.
Oh, God.
Darcey starts to badger him, saying lots and lots of different things to try to give him ample opportunity to, commit further into the relationship and proclaim himself, ride or die or whatever. And he just isn't engaging with that. So, yes, like I said, the apple fell very, very far from the tree here.
He's disciplined and his parents are a bunch of hippies.
They are very hippie. It's funny. What I think is funny about the parents, specifically about the mom, is the idea that she was like, nobody in America has a house that looks like this. And I'm like, yeah, they do. I
was going to say, there are lots of people that do.
Plenty of hippies that look just like them in America. Absolutely. Yeah. And so I think it's funny that all three of them tend to have these extremely narrow and rigid preconceptions about what all Americans are like. Like they're all chaotic, but they also don't have like freedom to express themselves like we do. And they're not disciplined and they are just phony consumers.
I could kind of see how that's an impression, but oh gosh, I feel sad that Darcey is our representation. She's, what we're judged by. So it's like, I don't think she's a good reflection of the general population.
Yeah, it definitely was like, yes, I would hate to get anybody to get their impressions of America as a whole from Darcey. It's not a representative sample, even a little bit.
Yeah. All right. So I felt bad for her a little bit when she was riding the bike because even though they kind of said something at the beginning like, oh, this is just your size, it was very obvious that she couldn't really reach the pedals. And I feel like that was part of what the issue was.
Well, they were rented bikes, right?
Yeah.
And they're like the same bikes you get from like Capital Bike Share, right?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And like those are pretty adjustable. Like, you can move those seats up and down pretty far. Like, they're literally made to fit lots of different body types. It's just that, like, one thing, I honestly, I was a little bit surprised she could ride a bike at all.
Yeah. She has got short legs.
She's got short legs, and she's just some of those people, like, sometimes you come across people who just like, well, I just never learned how to ride a bike. Like, didn't have to, it doesn't make sense in the Netherlands because, that there's bikes all over the freaking place in Amsterdam. But like from Americans, if you like live, depending if you live in the exurbs and stuff, and there's like nobody's house you could bike to, nothing is within biking distance, then people don't learn how to ride bikes all the time.
Yeah. It actually, their whole date reminded me of a date from hell that I had. I had gone out with this guy and we were going to ride to the town over on our bikes, on a bike trail because I had to run some kind of errand. And we just thought, oh, it'd be great if we like rode our bikes, ran my errand and then grabbed a drink. Uh-huh. So I met up with him and we met up on bikes. And like I said, I'd never met this guy before. And he was like hauling ass ahead of me. And he like wasn't even near me at all. This is the first time I'd ever met this guy. And so like I was just like, you know what? I'm going to go the speed that I want to go, which is, comfortable cruising speed. And if he wants to, ride on ahead, then let him. And he didn't even like really he wasn't getting that I was like, it wasn't a test or anything like that, but he didn't really get that like leaving me behind wasn't considerate or like even date like. So like I barely talked to this guy the whole time. And so it's just like, yeah, that was one of the worst dates I've been on. Like, why would you do that?
No, you got a bike ride. You have to pick someplace
next to the person.
Yeah, at a conversational pace. Like you don't be having to talk like this. You just want to be at a conversational pace. Mm-hmm. Something that, is a little bit easier, I think, where you are. Someplace that's pretty flat.
Yep, it was flat. But at the same time, like, I'm in no hurry to do anything, So it's like, I'm going to go at my leisurely pace.
If the biking is the activity, then you take it leisurely. If you're specifically biking, like, so we can, I don't know. It's definitely like, we're not here for you to out-cycle me. But I don't know that was what was going on here as much. I think it was a little bit in the back. Like, I feel like Darcey was going so slow that part of the reason she was having trouble, like, riding the bike was because she was going too slow. And, like, the bike wasn't staying up. Like, she was, like, wobbly on it. It's like, you got to actually pedal and move there, Darcey. And but, like, she couldn't turn. I was like, ugh. And then why is there a worse city for those heels than Amsterdam? Like,
Italy, I heard, is pretty bad for heels because everything is cobblestone.
Everything is I guess Rome, but Rome might be worse. That's fair. Mm-hmm. In terms of, there's cobblestones, bricks. I think cobblestones are worse than bricks.
Anything that's uneven and it's everywhere. Where it's hard to avoid cracks, that seems like a bad scenario. I
feel like the bricks are going to fool you because they're level, and then you're just going to happen to catch the grout on one of them, and that's going to throw you off. Where the cobblestones, you might be ready for it to be uneven. But it was like, there's a reason that we don't wear those outside. Like, yeah.
Let's talk about Darcey's desperation. It was really uncomfortable.
Does she think she's being subtle? Or does she know how, like, absurd she's
gotta
being?
Know, right?
She saw a famous landmark in Amsterdam. One of the places they put the freaking I Amsterdam sign in front of. And it was like, I wonder if they do weddings here. Like, no, but, oh my God.
Oh my gosh. How she keeps on calling him the love of my life, like, to his face. It's just like, that seems like a lot of pressure.
It does. Like, and to be fair, he's not really reacting. And I think that's his reaction. He's trying to give her a non-reaction reaction. Like, take the hint there. I'm not reacting to that. So, like, you're going to have to bounce off. Like, she really fishes for him to say, like, these over-the-top things for him. And he's just like, you're not getting that. I know what you want. I'm not giving that to you.
Yeah. And then at one point, he does kind of call her out on it. He's like, is that a hint? And she was like, oh, no, not really, But it's kind of like, especially the kind of personality Jesse is, as someone who is dominant and controlling, as she has said. This is not the guy who wants to take your hints. This is a guy who needs to be tricked into thinking it is his idea. And there is nothing you're doing that is tricking him. You are like overtly putting it out there that this is what you want. Guess what? It's going to make him run the other way because it wasn't his idea.
No, totally. And I think, like, as evidenced by the way she was rightly upset with the way things went down with the stepdad, right?
Sure.
Like, that's saying, like, what's in it for you if you're so out of her league is like, okay, Jesse, that's the time to challenge the premise. Like, you don't engage in that question. You challenge the premise. I don't think she is out of my league is the appropriate answer to that question. It's the only appropriate answer to that question. And, like, for him to just be like, well, that's an interesting question. I think that in other ways, like, oh, man, that's just so bad. Yeah.
As much as the stepdad was just so rude, it was like, he brought up some pretty good points.
I mean, no, he wasn't. And that's the only one to me that was like out of bounds. Like to be like, why are you saying you want to marry this dude? You've been with him for 4 days. Like that is a legitimate point. A blunt point, yes, right? Legitimate. But the part where he's passing his personal judgment on you, you're clearly not good enough for him. So what is that's when you step over the line.
Right. I mean, you can see it. It's only the 3rd episode, why Darcey has this reputation for being like just desperate.
Totally desperate.
So desperate.
Yeah. And I don't know if she's fooling herself or if she thinks she's fooling us that she's not.
I know. Every 2 seconds, she's like, I am an independent
woman. Yeah. And then
Are you?
The thing that hits me the wrong way is she's like, and I'm doing this for my daughters. It's like, no, you're not.
No.
Stop that.
You don't crap.
Pump the brakes on that one.
Yeah, you just left your daughters for 6 weeks. I don't think that's doing, unless you're trying to give them a vacation from you.
That's what they really need.
Yeah.
Oh,
all right. So yeah, that covers our couples that we've seen, and I think we've seen all of them at least once now, right? Oh no, Larry and Jenny.
More, Larry and Jenny. Yeah.
Yeah, Larry and Jenny, and they are supposed to, based on the preview. They still do previews. They should be in the next set of episodes.
That's what it looked like.
So, yep. Who was your student of the week?
I went with Cameo, baby mama of Patrick, because I don't know. She seemed like she was giving good advice, had a good head on her shoulders, seemed to be taking the appropriate, she also seemed like someone who just had all of her shit together. Like, in the time
definitely.
We saw her. So that's why I went with her.
So for me, I kind of went with the least objectionable. And so for that, I went with Patrick.
Sure.
So Patrick, I feel like his heart is in the right place. Although the things that kind of make me like, he's the least objectionable is that as much as his heart is in the right place, I also feel like it's just been recently in the right place.
Yes.
So, you kind of wonder how long like this idea of, life goals is really going to be sustainable.
Right. I'm a devoted family man who's going to stick with one woman and commit and like things like that's like a new thing you're trying there, buddy. Let's see how long that holds. Totally.
I know. And then it also kind of makes me wonder too, why isn't he trying with Cameo then?
Yeah, I definitely wonder about that.
Mm-hmm. Unless she has someone else and she's like not about that. She's like, I've seen what you're like.
She may have moved on as well. That's totally true.
Yeah, true. All right, how about your dunce?
I went with Courtney. All kinds of dumb. Like, I mean, I can't.
Yeah.
Like, definitely, how are you going to commit to flying to Spain to meet a guy who can't commit to picking up the phone?
Right.
That's insane. That's crazy. Like that's a mismatched level of investment of this relationship.
Oh, it absolutely is. Yeah. My dance is Darcey. Just the desperation came out so strong and it was so unattractive. And it's like, I don't understand how she doesn't understand like basic psychology. This is like 101. Like the more you throw yourself at someone and available you make yourself, the less attractive you're going to seem to them. And that doesn't mean play games or anything like that, but it's just like, you can't even match his enthusiasm for this relationship. It's like she is just going overboard and, it's not going to end in the result she wants.
It can't because you're right. It's just the smacking of desperation and making more out of this than this is, which she does all the time. I've never had anyone pull out a chair for me before. Yes, you have. Shut up. Yes, you have.
I know. How could you be 30-something and not have that happen?
42. Yeah. Someone's pulled out a chair for you before. I promise this has happened. Like, and so that makes everything you say. So when you say you're the love of my life, then I'm like, okay, well, you are clearly someone who exaggerates everything you say. Like, it means less and less.
Yes, that's true. And I think you've said that about her before because that's starting to sound familiar.
Oh, maybe
is that she talks in absolutes?
Yes, she does talk in absolutes. Everything is the most. Everything is the best. Everything is the greatest or the worst thing that's ever happened to me.
Oh, actually, you said that about Rebecca recently. I think that's what maybe I was thinking
I did. It's not unlike it. It's not. They're not that different in that because they also have their last shot at love, even though they Married
Although we
4
know
times.
for certain, I know, right, that is not the case. All right, what about your life lesson?
All right, so I don't think it's possible to make it work with someone that if you don't think you're in the same league as them. Like at the end of the day, if you think you're too good for them or they're too good for you, like that relationship is doomed to failure.
I agree. I feel that there's always going to be an insecurity, and with that insecurity comes other problems, either jealousy, paranoia, feeling of inadequacy, never feeling like you're good enough. So depression related to that, it's like it's always going to breed other issues. I agree.
Mm-hmm. All right, your life lesson?
My life lesson is inspired by Courtney. You should always, always have an exit plan when meeting up with someone for the first time. This is not even just for, going across the ocean for someone. I mean, this is like even just meeting up with someone locally. Like for me, I will always insist on driving myself. I would never have someone pick me up, because I need to be able to get the hell out of there if I really needed to. So, and that also means like you can't be getting drunk,
drunk. And
you got to be able to have an exit plan.
Yeah. I mean, who else didn't have an exit plan now that we think about it is Paul. He was sitting on that dock waiting for Karine to come. I was like, I guess I'll get on the boat again. How's he going to get back? How's he going to buy another ticket for the boat? He can't speak any Portuguese. I don't know how that was going to work. He'd have to wait 3 days for the boat to come back. I don't know how.
Yeah, true. Right.
All right. Yeah, that's good. All right. So, we will be back again on Monday. I guess it's Easter Monday. Ooh, are they having a new episode on Easter? I guess they will.
We'll find out.
So. Yeah, we'll find out. So we'll be back on the Monday after that with our, current 90-day episode, and we'll be back later next week with another classic episode.
All right, sounds good.
All right.
All right, see ya.
Bye.
Okay, bye.